Hi guys, it's Natalie, and today we are doing our tutorial for the punch needle. This came in the fall mega box, and it's kind of my first foray into punch needle. I just think it's really fun. It's a very trendy new art form or fiber art. I know I've seen a lot from Lori Holt. I've seen a lot from Kimberbell. Those are just some of the designers that are having fun with this. So I thought it'd be fun to let us dip our toe into this with a really easy fall pumpkin pattern. And I'm going to show you how to do it. All right, so to start, you can see I have my pumpkin drawn on my fabric. This is the fabric that came in your kit. This is a weaver's cloth. Another popular fabric that is used for punch needle is Aida fabric, which is typically like cross stitch fabric. I tried both and I think I like this better. So we're going to give this one a shot. And what I've done is traced this on just with a pencil, a normal pencil. It's going to be totally covered up by our yarn. And I traced it on, and then I put the fabric in my hoop and just pinched it in real good with this clamp, and it should be in there nice and tight. So first we need to thread our punch needle. Okay, so we're going to thread the needle by sticking the threader through the pointy side. Oh my goodness. There we go. All the way to the back here. Okay? And then we're going to grab the loop and the end of our yarn and pull it all the way through, just like that. And now we want to do that same thing, but we want to fish the yarn through this little circle point here on the edge of the needle point. So you'll go through with your threader and loop your thread through and pull it. Okay, so we have our thread going through all the way to the top of the needle and then through this little hole here. And I want to pull the end so it's, you have a few inches of a tail, because we don't want to have to do this a lot of the threading. Okay. All right, so we're just about ready to start punching, but before we do, we need to talk about technique and the direction that we're going to go. So when you're punching, you want to make sure that this hollow point on your needle is facing the direction you want to go. So this little tail is going to trail behind you, or your loops. Once your loops start forming, those are going to be trailing behind you. You want this hollow point in the direction you're going, okay? And then you can decide how tall you want your stitches. I started mine at like a 6, and I felt like they were too small. Let me show you what that looks like. I don't know if you can see this super, three-dimensionally. These were where I started with like a 6. They were a little bit shorter of the loops. And over here, I decided I would beef them up a little bit, make the loops longer by pushing this needle down to a higher point. And then I've just taped it in place so it didn't wiggle, didn't move out of place. So that is something to think about. So I think I have mine around like an 8-ish. I guess I can't really tell the indicator line, but there, I've got it kind of 2/3 of the way to the front. Okay, so now we're just going to start punching. And remember, I want my hollow point to the front. And what you do is you poke all the way down so the whole metal needle is covered. Okay, all the way down. And there is a point where if you punch your little spaces too close together, you're going to rip your fabric. And I will show you what that looks like too. But so you just want to give yourself, I don't know, an 1/8 of an inch in between. And I think it's more forgiving. You can get away with wider spaces with that longer stitch because there's more yarn on the back to kind of fill in those spaces. Okay, so I'm turning my hoop underneath rather than repositioning my needle. Okay, so let's take a pause here and I'm going to show you what we're working with. Okay, so here you can see I've got all these loops. What I'm looking at right now is actually the back of my project. On the front, you can see I've got all these great little loops that are going to create that tufted look in the end. So obviously, if I pull this, I can pull out the whole thread. So you just want to be careful that, you know, you're not doing that on purpose. And if you pull out a couple stitches like I just did, it's okay. Just go back and redo them. Just like that. And if you find that you're pulling them out as you go, make sure you've got lots of slack here on your yarn, because that's going to help not pull those stitches and give you enough slack for the stitches to stay in the fabric. Okay. So we just keep this up, following our pattern. Sometimes the thread or the needle wants to go in really easily, and sometimes you kind of have to help it. Put some more slack here. Okay, so would you be surprised if I told you that, you know, this is basically it? It's very easy, and you're just going to keep going around. Now I'm here back at the beginning. I'm going to just give this a little trim, this original tail, so he's not in my way. I'm not going to trim him super short because I don't want him to get pulled out, but I just don't want to be stumbling over him as I go. So I'm going to go around in kind of a spiral, you know, just retracing my steps here. Remember, we want to give a little bit of room in between our stitches, so don't get so close to that original row that you rip your fabric. And we're just going to keep going. As we approach this little spot here, I want to show you something. Okay, you can see, can you focus that? One of my loops came undone right there, and I'm just going to let it be. I'm not going to go and fuss with it right now because I would probably mess up everything else I've done. At the end, I can go and look and see if it needs a little bit more yarn in a certain place. You can kind of add that in as you need to, but I'm just going to let it go for now and trust the process. All right, I'm all done with that first section, and this is what it looks like on the finished edge. So there's a couple places where it might look a little sparse, but I'm just going to wait till the end to make sure, you know, see how it is at the very end and see if I want to fill something in later. But for now, we're just going to repeat this same thing. I'm going to trim, carefully pull my thread, my needle away from the thread, and leave a little tail here. There. And now I'm just going to start again on the next section until we're all done with the orange sections. Okay? All right, so we are done with the orange, and we are going to change colors now. So I'm going to do this brown color for the inside of my little pumpkin shadowy grooves, and we're just going to repeat everything we just did. So we're going to thread our yarn threader through our needle, pull it through, and repeat that to get it through the eye of the needle. There we go. Oof, my fingers are not doing what I want them to do. There we go. Okay, so we're going to do just the same thing. And I think I'll probably do 2 rows of punches for the dark brown in between my oranges here. And we'll just do exactly what we did before. Okay, let's see how that looks. Oh my goodness, I love it. I think that's like the perfect width for my pumpkin and it's gonna look great. So I'm just gonna carry on the same way to do my brown outlines, and then up here, I'm gonna do the brown outline all the way around, and then on the center of this little brown, or sorry, the center of the stem, I'm gonna do green, and I'll probably do green here for the little curly Q also. And then we have this tan color. If you look on this pattern, there is a super faint tan outline in a circle. So you can make a circle around your pumpkin too to kind of finish it off and give it a border. That is optional because it's going to look like a pumpkin either way. But if you want to fill that in, you definitely can. And I think I've given you all my tips. So I'm just going to keep going until I'm all done with the project, and I will show you what it looks like when it's all done. I did tell you I would show you what happens if you over punch. So that means if you put too many holes in one area. So you can see right here that my fabric has started to like really rip. And I think it's because I did too many punctures right there. So just be aware that your fabric does have its limits, and you just need to be aware of how hard you're pushing and, do your best. Okay, so let's get punching. Okay, I'm all done with my little pumpkin, and let's flip it over and see what it looks like. Ta-da! I am really, really happy with this. I love the texture. I think it turned out even better than my last one. Now I'm going to show you my first one. You can see this is a lot more dense, but I also did puncture my fabric. So it's kind of up to you, the style that you want to do. And again, the circle around the outside with your tan color, with this one right here, is totally optional. And I think I'm just going to display this in the hoop. There are different methods that you can use to display it. I know that Lori Holt sells like a wooden board, basically, and I believe you wrap this around it just as a display. And so check that out. There's a lot of cool ways to display it. I think I'm just going to kind of wrap this in my hoop and show it off on a shelf. So I hope you enjoyed this tutorial for the punch needle, and I hope that you'll enjoy and maybe try it again sometime. So thanks so much, and I'll talk to you soon.